Welcome to the Virtual Foundry podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Virtual Foundry podcast. This is volume 3, episode 3. Today is Friday, March 11th, 2022. The time is 10:35 a.m. and the temperature today, interestingly, is 23 degrees Fahrenheit. That's -5 for you Celsius users. And the part that I find interesting about that is that it was exactly the same temperature when we recorded our last podcast 2 weeks ago. Still waiting for spring to come around, but I think it's going to arrive on Sunday. So just a couple more days. Today, we're going to be talking about our Canadian partner, our neighbors to the north, Canadian Additive. I'm Tricia Cease, president of the Virtual Foundry, and with me today are Curtis Pastorius and Jason Podger from Canadian Additive. Say hello, guys.
Hello.
So I need to know, since you're in a different country, what time is it and what is the temperature where you are?
Yeah, it's 11:36. We're just an hour different, but it's quite a bit warmer here. It's 1 degree Celsius.
Oh, it's like you're in the tropics.
Yeah, it feels like it now, and spring is coming. You can tell it's in the air.
Agree. Well, we're encroaching on mid-March. It has to happen sometime. Okay, guys, tell me, how did you get into 3D printing? What sparked your interest to go down that road?
Yeah. So I worked in the automotive industry for 25 years, and we started doing 3D printed sand molds for the foundry industry. And we didn't call it 3D printing at the time. It was just another way to make things but it was toolless manufacturing at the time. And when I left that industry, I thought back on what I wanted to do, and I realized this is an incredible technology, additive manufacturing or 3D printing. And what we saw is that Canada's not really using it yet to the extent they could. And so this is where we started the business called Canadian Additive, with a purpose of taking my 25 years of traditional manufacturing experience and trying to, connect people with this additive technology. And so, yeah, pretty much I drank the Kool-Aid of 3D printing before I even knew I drank it. I just realized it later. And Jason?
So for me, my original career was actually as an automotive technician. I had decided to go back to school for mechanical engineering, but with not really any idea of what I wanted to do with that. And when I went back to school, the local college was in the process of building Canada's only and first additive manufacturing resource center. We had one of the first metal powder bed fusion machines in Canada, as well as a plastic SLS. And I was peeling back the brown paper on the windows, wondering what was going on in that lab, and was able to weasel my way in and ended up being the first student and worked in that lab throughout my career at the college, which is actually where Curtis and I met. Our relationship started there. And then that was back in probably 2014. And I've been doing 3D printing and 3D scanning ever since.
So you went the Kool-Aid route as well, right?
Yes.
And it's delicious Kool-Aid. Why not? It's a very exciting field to be in. Tell me what brought you to Filament and the metal, glass, and ceramic 3D printing filaments with the Virtual Foundry.
Sure. So it kind of is a natural transition or natural, let's say, progression. I, coming from the foundry industry, making metal objects was kind of, decades of my experience. And subsequently, we wound up getting interested in the powder bed fusion that Jason just mentioned at this college. And the eyes really got big when we saw we could make metal parts in these types of geometries. And then the eyes got a little bit smaller, though, when we learned the machine costs $1 million. And so as fascinating as it is, we're like, that's the holy grail and we want to get there. But making metal parts has always been just a little bit out of reach to a lot of people. And so, we, as much as that's still on our horizon to have maybe a $1 million powder bed machine of some kind, when we came across the Virtual Foundry, it was kind of a no-brainer that, well, wait a minute, we can make now metal parts at a completely different price point. And yes, it's a different end result, but it is still metal. And we can make, I can only dream of how many things we can make using this level of technology. Sure, we'll still be interested in the other technology for other applications, but this is an unfilled marketplace, in my opinion, where there aren't many products available to print in FDM processes and go through sintering and make a metal part. And Virtual Foundry being open, we have lots of open FDM printers. So immediately, again, it was a natural, almost obvious piece to say, well, we need to have some of that. and when we learned that there's no one in Canada to help support you, well, that's then the second natural progression is not just for us to use it, but two, for us to help spread the word, right? And that just matches perfectly with the company mission of connecting traditional manufacturing with new additive technologies.
So tell me about your experience with these FFF metal filaments so far.
So far, we print lots of FDM products or FFF products. We have lots of different machines of different sizes. And so this is new to us to print metals. And you might think, we might have thought originally that it was going to be difficult, but as a matter of fact, it was actually very simple. These gears that you see on my piece of paper here are our first prints. And what I was really surprised at is how easy it is to print. In fact, it flows almost easier than other materials, which you might think otherwise until you actually try it. I mean, when you run the first purging of material out of the nozzle, it comes out so easy. It was a big surprise. I thought that was going to be, we print carbon fiber filaments, carbon fiber, nylons that are difficult, and this is not the case. Certainly, we have a lot to learn still about how to place the spools and feed the materials. That's probably the place for us to spend some more time. But our first prints were very quick and easy, and sintering the first ones was even easier. We followed your instructions, and we wound up with immediately solid metal parts.
Oh, that's terrific to hear.
That's our first experience, yes.
Yes, it can be very surprising for people how similarly to PLA that the material prints. Some folks think they need an extra hot printer or a special kind of 3D printer, and that's just not the case. What's happening during the printing process is the plastic in the material is being melted, and we're using a PLA compliant binder material. So that plastic in there is being melted. The metal particles are just going along for the ride. So you're really printing in a range of about 200 to 225 C. So very similar to regular PLA.
Which makes it fantastic for, like, there's almost, maybe we have 15 FDM printers in the back of our shop, and I can't see that there's any one of them that can't print this material.
So Curtis, Jason, tell me, what services do you offer? And talk about the full scope. Of course, I want to know about the filament and metal printing specifically, but tell me about all your services.
Yeah, so we actually have two companies in our shop. So Canadian Additive, one, and then a couple of years ago, we purchased a friendly competitor called Evolve 3D. So you will eventually see both companies carrying the Virtual Foundry product. But there's sort of three things that we focus on at both companies. And those three things are spread into a couple categories. So the first is a service bureau for 3D printing, additive manufacturing, for a wide range of processes, from low cost FDM up to powder bed fusion metal, and everything in between. And so we offer that as a service. The second part is most of all of the equipment that we use here in the shop, we are also distributors for. So we have, we represent companies like 3D Systems, Admatech, to name a couple on the printing side. And so our goal is to educate industry, starting with service, and you know, maybe it's build a part here, build a part there, until they're using us as a service, you know, every month or every week till it makes sense for them to purchase a machine. And then the third is we offer consulting and training on all the additive type technologies. And then all of that same principle applies on the other half of the business, which is 3D scanning. So we also do 3D scanning, reverse engineering, quality control, where we take, you know, instead of taking a digital data and printing it to make something physical, now we can take something physical and 3D scan it, you know, with really high accuracies, you know, something as small as a coin or a gear up to an entire building. And then we can either reverse engineer it or do quality control. And so as Curtis touched on earlier, all of the products that we sell are more in the professional and production grade. We do offer some metal printers, but you know, they're in the $500,000 to $1 million range. And we have a lot of customers that are interested in metal, and it's just not attainable for them. So that's why the Virtual Foundry for us was very interesting, because now we can offer a metal technology at a much lower price point. It's much more accessible. And, you know, we're not going to try and replace our aerospace customers that are already having us make parts in other processes, but it's going to allow us to approach all of our other customers that aren't at that level and give them a low cost alternative to get into metal printing, which is pretty fantastic.
So for Virtual Foundry, we're following the same sort of pattern of offering the service of printing your parts. If you have parts that you want to try to have made in this process, we can do that for you. We have all of the equipment, we have all of the materials available, and the sintering equipment. So we can provide a print and sinter and ship you a finished part type service option. But of course, the goal is to help you understand that you can do it yourself, and then provide you with printers and furnaces and the materials. And perhaps you don't even need a printer. In fact, it may be that you can just use the printer you have at home, quite likely the case. And so then we could just offer a sintering service if you're printing your own pieces. So any combination at the moment. So the same pattern of providing a service that leads into someone being able to do this themselves.
Well, that sounds like a really a comprehensive approach. So you can help people get their first prints to see what it's like, and then walk them through the process of installing their own system at home, whether it is the FFF metal route or the other technologies.
Absolutely.
And scanning a part from scratch, I know a lot of people wish that they have something that's very special, and they wish that they could get a duplicate. And those scanning services seem a little hard to come by. So it's great to hear that that's in your repertoire as well.
Yeah, it's a really good match with the printing side, because we have customers almost every week that are looking to have something recreated or repaired or replaced, and we can capture that data. And whether it's to print, you know, it could be a automotive component printed in metal. It could be a bronze statue reprinted in metal as well. It could be any one of those categories.
Now, what kinds of parts can you do? Tell us about material, or the material themselves, the size, shape, things like that.
So today, for Virtual Foundry materials, we have every material that's available on the website here, and we can print that. From size, we have machines that can print up to 600 by 600 by 600 millimeters. But you need to remember, you need to have a furnace as big as the part you're going to print. And so today we've started with the even heat kiln that's shown on the website. And so that is, help me out, Tricia, how tall is that?
Well,
chamber?
It's 6.5 inch cubed.
Right.
So I don't have my quick conversion of that. I'll put something on the screen that says that in millimeters.
Yeah, that's okay. So today, that's the size we can sinter. Printing is almost unlimited, and what we intend to do is begin to add more and more furnaces beyond the even heat kiln. And our goal will be to include even atmosphere controlled furnaces, so that we can sinter all of the materials.
That's a great point. So there are a couple of materials in our offering that do require special environments, aluminum and titanium. And the even heat kiln that you have won't handle those. It's not gas capable, but they do require special processes. So not ready for home or non-commercial use quite yet, but we'll get there.
But, you know, we have partners in the area that we're working to develop relationships who have these furnaces so that we can, you know, create a bit of a network where we can accomplish more than what we just have in-house today.
Okay, terrific. So then you've really got a full catalog of products and services there. And I bet that if somebody wanted a custom filament, you would be able to figure out how to print that too for them if they needed it.
100%.
Now, how will you accept international jobs? Can we ship across the border into Canada?
Absolutely. We love to deal with people all over the world. I was just looking at our store earlier, and the clients that we see are from Switzerland, from Poland, from the United States, and of course, Canada. And yeah, we're happy to help anyone at any level. We can export and we can manage that. We've been doing it for years on all of our other pieces of equipment and services. And yes, we can do that here. Well,
I'll tell you that it is one of my favorite parts of this work is working with people from all over the world. It's really a special treat. Is there anything else that you would like to offer about Canadian Additive, about your experience with Filament? Any other comments?
So no, other than I just can't stop playing with these metal pieces. Once you make these things, you really start to feel how neat it is to have made metal off of your FDM printer.
Yes, and then you like to carry it around with you, and anyone who will listen, you show them off. Yes, I understand the feeling fully.
We were really excited to get started, and you know, we weren't really sure what to expect, but now that we've made a few parts, like the ideas of things that we can do, I mean, we're really excited to grow and find new applications and grow with the Virtual Foundry. I think there's a lot of potential and opportunity ahead of us.
I agree. Now, how can people get a hold of you?
So they can reach us a few different ways. People like the internet, and so www.canadianadditive.ca, all one word, no dots or spaces other than the .ca, is our website. And but we're located in Dundas, Ontario. So if you Google us, you'll find our address is 64 Hatt Street in Dundas, Ontario. And then Jason, do you know the shop number?
It's 416-479-0009. And if you're calling out of country, our country code is 1.
Okay. So I will add all of that information to the video description as well. So easy to find there. Now, guys, I have one more very important question for you before we wrap up today. Why did the orange lose the race?
Oh. I don't know why.
Because it ran out of juice. So thank you for spending some time with me, Curtis and Jason, and thank you all for joining me in the podcast today. If you have a cool project you want to showcase in this format, let me know. If you have a topic you'd like to see us do a deeper dive on, let me know. We would be happy to do a podcast with or for you. Until next time, thanks everyone, and we'll see you.